Well, hello all. Today I want to talk about Kratky hydroponics. It's the simplest form of growing plants. What I'm going to do is take a bottle, this small bottle, and we're going to grow the plant in this bottle. So the first thing we do is we take off the label, and all you'll need apart from this bottle really is a sock. So you know all those socks that you lose one of? Well, I'm going to choose a very unloved single sock here, perhaps that one. I prefer cotton socks because they wick better. And we're going to poke this into the bottle and cut it all the way around so that we can grow our plant in this bottle. So I see we've got a little bit of liquid here, still some Coke left over. Let's pour that out. So you're going to take this sock and tie it, a piece of string around it. Let's see, where's a piece of string here? Tie a piece of string around it. Now the reason why I love hydroponics so much is because you grow the plants. Mostly I'm going to grow herbs, oregano, and you grow them in a water environment and you feed them nutrients. So you don't grow them in the soil with hydroponics. So you've tied your sock like that. You take your bottle. Here's our bottle. You put it into here. And now you're going to pull the sock over the rim. And you're going to get it even all the way around. I can see that the sock has got like a little ring. So I can see that is more or less the same all the way around. Now you're going to take a soldering iron and you're going to poke holes through the sock and through the bottle. So that will melt its way through the sock and through the bottle. Like that. And it'll fuse the sock. It'll fuse the sock to the plastic bottle. And what it does is it lets air in. So air will be able to now enter through these little holes that I'm making. And as I say, we're gluing the sock to the bottle, melting it to the bottle. And go all the way around. This will make sure that the stock stays in place. And then one final thing is to make a hole just under the sock like that. That ensures that that's the maximum level. And then burn some holes through the sock on the top to let the water in. So this just allows the water to come in, and the more you do that, the easier the water will be able to pour in. And there we're done with the soldering iron. Now the next thing we do is we take some of our seeds. I've got my herbs, oreganum. I'm going to cut this open and I'm going to pour the seeds out so that I can just see them. They're quite small. So you can see how many seeds there are, and they're very small. We just need a few seeds. Actually, we need only about 3 seeds. in this whole hydroponic system. So now I'm going to take some toilet roll and take a very small piece, say about that size. I'm going to just dampen the center of that with some water, and then I'm going to just pick up a few seeds on that surface and place them over here. And then we're going to pour water and fill this up with water. Now the purpose of this piece of toilet paper, it's going to disintegrate over time, and the seeds are stuck between the toilet paper and the sock. We're going to fill this up till it begins to overflow there. The seeds will germinate, grow on the sock, send roots down partially through the holes that we have cut, drilled with our soldering iron. They will grow into here. The sock will wick water up, and the roots will be able to get air here and water. So the roots need air and water. So we're going to fill this all the way to the top, and I don't want to fill it right at the moment because then I can't move this, but I'll show you what this will now look like after a few, say a month or two. Maybe I've had these oreganum grow for years in here. Now here's the last thing that you need to do is take your watering can. So you fill this with ordinary water. Then take your watering can. This is a 5-liter watering can. I have got Stark Air's Nutri-Feed. Tear it off and inside here they give you a spoon, a little ladle like that. Get 1 level teaspoon per watering can, and now we're going to throw that in. I like to start my hydroponics without any Nutri-Feed or any nutrient solution, because while the seeds are germinating, they don't need. But then as the water evaporates from here, keep adding some Nutri-Feed, and eventually this will get the nutrients that it needs. So this Nutri-Feed by Stark Airs, or any hydroponic solution, will contain everything that your oreganum, your herb, needs to grow. And so you don't need soil, you don't need anything but this. The only way you can kill these plants is by adding too much Nutri-Feed or any kind of hydroponic solution, because as it evaporates, this gets concentrated. And so you keep on topping it up and then it gets concentrated. I would suggest you only top it up with this Nutri-Feed or hydroponic solution every 3 times, once out of every, say, 3 times. The rest of the time, just fill it with water. And I find it's very easy to see when your leaves are nice and green, then you know that you should cut down on the Nutri-Feed, just feed with water. And when they go yellowy and they're looking a little underfed, you could say, they're looking not as good as they should look, because I'm growing oreganum, the leaves will look green. When they go yellow, then I start giving it some more Nutri-Feed. So the only way you can kill them is by adding too much of the hydroponic solution. Rather add less, grow it in water, then slowly add Nutri-Feed. So now this will germinate. I would say take about a week. I'll see little plants growing. If not, I'll add 1 or 2 more seeds on top here. This will be nice and cool. Roots love cool. They love the moisture from the sock. They will grow down the sock. And they also love the air. So you will get some air roots in the space between the hole that you drilled, between there and there. Air roots will grow in that space. So that is how you grow a hydroponic solution plant. Herbs, you're not going to grow turnips or cabbages or carrots or big things here. I'm only interested. And this is called the Kratky hydroponics because there's no pump here. I'm not pumping air or water. It's a completely passive system. And you will find that you don't need electricity. It will last for a week or 2 without you having to add water because it only slowly evaporates. The bigger the plant, the faster it evaporates, the more water you'll have to add. And when the whole world is covered in plastic and global warming's taken effect, we'll still have plastic, and this uses the least amount of water of any system that you can think of, because none of the water that you add runs into the soil, just disappears. It doesn't lie on the soil and slow and spread out and evaporate either. So the only way the water can evaporate is through the plant and through the sock, which is a very small surface area, so you get very little evaporation. So your water efficiency is incredible. This is the most efficient way of growing plants using the least amount of water, the least amount of nutrients, etc. And I'm just going to place it on my windowsill where it gets a gentle light. If you put it in too harsh a light, the plants can get a bit stressed and get a bit hot. Now, why do I like a clear plastic container? This will eventually grow some algae. The algae in the day will produce oxygen, which will oxygenate your roots further. At night, they will stop producing oxygen, but the roots, there's enough oxygen in the water to last the roots. So I don't mind algae growing on the inside of this jar. Many people hate algae growing. That's why they like dark containers. I like a clear container. And so the algae will grow in here, and that's acting actually like a bubbler because it will bubble off oxygen into the water and just use a little bit of nutrients itself. So it's not a problem at all. And so you saw how quickly it takes to set up the system. And we're going to grow a whole lot of these on our windowsill in, I'd say, a place that gets the morning sun, say not the whole day sun, doesn't like to get too hot. So there we go. Hydroponics with the Kratky method. So here you can see it completely filled up to the little hole with water, and now it's just going to be left on the windowsill. I don't think that most folks have considered ever trying to grow something with hydroponics. I don't know why. Maybe they just think it's too complicated. But I don't think one could get any simpler system than a hydroponic one. And it's so nice having herbs in your kitchen. You can grow them on your windowsill, so you don't have to run out into the garden to get them. You've always got your lovely fresh herbs. And I'm sure everybody's got these unwanted socks that are just lying around, single sock. You don't know what happened to the other one. So, I mean, what could be easier? You've got plastic bottles that you're recycling. You're making a really great use of these old soda bottles instead of them going into the sea and becoming microplastics. Not that I think that microplastics are half as harmful as people make them out to be. This is quite a nice long sock. Let's see, this sock's not going to crush our bottle. Why is this bottle? This bottle seems so weak. I suppose they use the least amount of material they can in bottles these days. Well, that'll do. Pull it evenly around, all the way down. So there's our sock. Then, yeah, that's warming up. Burn it through. It's not the greatest soldering iron, but it'll do. And like I say, you then don't have to glue it or stick it. I think if one rotates the soldering iron like that a bit, distributes the heat more quickly. And go all the way around. And then put a hole, just say there. And that's the maximum that you can fill it. Burn holes. It also allows the roots of the oreganum to go through, so I don't think there's really a limit to how many holes you can drill. And don't breathe in the plastic if you can help it. There's another bottle ready for hydroponics. And like I say, this is a way of recycling. I'm a great fan of plastic. I love plastics in all forms. I just look around me, my whole room is surrounded by plastics, and then you get people who don't want to use plastics and want to ban plastics and limit plastics. I'm a huge fan of plastics, and especially if you can use them like this. These bottles don't really biodegrade very easily, so you can use them for years. Now all we're going to do is we're going to take our oregano seed. You can even drop some seeds on top here. Cover it with a little piece of your toilet paper. It's actually quite a good idea to fill this first in the place where you're going to do it, then drop a few seeds, then put the toilet paper on top, because otherwise some of the seeds may get washed out as you're beginning to fill this. So fill it up to that hole, add your sprinkling of seeds on top, cover it with a piece of toilet paper, and you can do. I've grown oregano thyme, I've grown catnip, beautiful. I'll show you I've shown you pictures of it, of how glorious these plants grow in just a plastic bottle. And as I say, the small amount of water, you couldn't use less water if you tried. So it's so eco-friendly. And all it requires is a little bit of stark airs, nutri-feed now and then. As I said, you add a spoonful to a 5-litre watering can, and yeah, and then it will draw what nutrients it needs. That stark airs nutri-feed has got everything it needs, all the trace elements, the minerals, the main elements to feed that plant. And how wonderful it is. Just for years it just grows, and you don't have to water it every second, third day. You just top it up once a week. So for the lazy man like myself, and who loves his oregano, especially on a pizza, yum yum, my favorite herb, hydroponics, the Kratky way. You don't have to worry about pumps, you don't have to worry about power failures, you don't have to worry about the cost. I mean, what could cost less than that? So maybe you should try it out.